Hello and welcome to the In the Pen podcast, a podcast about relievers, part of the Pitcher List Podcast Network. My name is Jake Crumpler, and as always, I'm joined by Pitcher List bullpen expert Rick Graham. Rick, after the conversation we were just having, I wish I could say like alien expert Rick Graham, but unfortunately, we are not alien experts. I mean, I might be, but you are mostly a bullpen expert. How is your week going? I know we're recording on Friday as opposed to Thursday due to some internet issues, but how's your week going? I do have a follow-up question.
Okay. It's going well. I mean, it's nice that it's Friday. Been a long, hectic work week, short-staffed and scramble in the last couple days to get some things done. But, It's Friday. So, yeah, excited to talk about baseball and not my other job.
All right. Well, first, the off-topic question of the week. Have you or do you play any instruments?
No, I wish I had, or I wish I did. I played, let's see, in 7th, 8th grade. I played clarinet for a little bit. School band. That was
nice.
So we had like a basically like a lottery system to like pick who played what instrument, because like
in middle school they wouldn't let you choose.
So like, I mean, I think clarinet was like my third choice, and that's what I got. I wanted like I wanted all the cool stuff like saxophone, guitar, drums, whatever. And I ended up with clarinet, like sick. Did that for like 2 years, and I was like, yeah, I'm all set. I did violin for like a year when I was younger than that.
I played 4th grade.
Yeah. I tried picking up like guitar a little bit, but I never, just timing wise, I never had the time to really practice and get that down.
So if you started over again, would you pick a guitar? Like if you were to choose, if you didn't have to do a lottery and you got free choice this time around, would you choose guitar?
I always wanted to play drums, but I also would like, realistically, probably like bass feels like, picking up a bass would feel like the most realistic thing for me. But yeah, not, saxophone would have been cool. That's obviously a cool thing to know. But I'm more of a 4-piece rock, enthusiast. So guitar, bass, drums, something like that.
Yeah. I also played violin in elementary school for 1 year, 4th grade, and then I switched to playing percussion. So I played drums from 5th grade through 8th grade. I was never that good. We didn't did your middle school band do like chairs where you had like first chair clarinet, second chair clarinet, etc.? Where like you have harder parts depending on how good you were?
I was like last.
Luckily they didn't do that for percussion, so we had like maybe 4 or 5 guys in percussion, and they didn't do chairs. Otherwise I would have been last or second to last. So never that good for me when it came to, because obviously like percussion in the band, you're doing like individual parts, like one person's on snare drum, one person's on bass drum, like one person's doing a cymbal, like somebody's doing cowbell, whatever. But like I did have a drum set at home, and I was just never good at doing different things with my feet. It's hard to like get your mind into that. But yeah, then I didn't play anything in high school, and I've been sort of wanting to pick up an instrument. My sister started playing guitar recently. And so I have my new instrument right next to me that I just got last week. Would you like to take a guess?
Is it in the guitar family?
Sure.
Is it a guitar or a bass? No.
It's a banjo.
You know what? Knowing your music taste, I should have guessed that. That's
right. Big bluegrass guy. But I've never played an instrument like that. Always, played percussion for 4 years, so I was more so into like keeping rhythm and that kind of stuff. Never really learning the notes. So this is new for me. It was very expensive. I did not realize how expensive banjos are. I had to. Pretty pricey. Like I could have probably bought another gaming system instead, but I haven't been playing a lot of video games recently. So I bought that, and I've been working on playing Blackbird by the Beatles. I like played one note one day, and I was like, that's the first note to Blackbird. I got to learn the rest. And I practiced it like 500 times this week. So I'm getting there, but it's going to be a learning process before I can start breaking into song on the podcast. But definitely really fun, and it is a good way to keep me from like scrolling on my phone all the time.
Yeah, that's banjo's a cool instrument. I mean, that's a lot of it's different too,
right. That was like big thing.
Everyone wants to try to play guitar. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was what I was thinking. And I'm somebody who's always like maybe annoyingly subversive, where I'm like, I don't want to do the things that everybody's doing. Like not in like, even like beyond the hipster way of just like anything that's like super mainstream. I'm just like, I don't know. That's what everybody's doing. So for me, it was like my sister's learning guitar. Everybody learns guitar. Like I want to do something adjacent to that, because like, you know, getting a wind instrument, it always seems so loud. Like practicing saxophone right now is like so like unfeasible. Right. It'd just be so loud. But picking up some sort of stringed instrument that I felt like a lot of people didn't play was something that I was interested in. And mandolin seemed, I don't know, didn't really fit me. So banjo was something that I looked into for a while. And I love bluegrass. So it's dope. I'm learning. It's 5 strings too, so it's different than a guitar, very different. But it's very fun.
You need to learn our intro music song. You need to learn our intro song, and we'll get a re-recording for the fall. That's your homework. Yeah.
All right. We'll see what I can do. All right. Well, that's our off topic to begin the podcast. Let's jump right in. Today, we're going to be updating our trade deadline talk as we discuss who to stash for the trade deadline and discuss updated odds, which teams are likely to be dealing at the deadline. So like last week, we discussed the Diamondbacks, and we were sort of on the fence whether or not they're going to be selling. Now it's very clear they're going to be selling with the notable trade of Josh Naylor that came through on Thursday. But as always, we're going to jump right into our news and notes, beginning things with the news as we have a couple of retirees, beginning with Jesse Chavez. Finally called it a career after so long. He was DFA'd by the Braves last week after they acquired Dane Dunning via trade with the Rangers in exchange for Jose Suarez. Both of those are relievers, but not fantasy relevant guys. Jesse Chavez wasn't either, but he has been in the past. And honestly, a little sad to see him go. It's always sad when somebody that you've watched for like almost your whole life, like he's been around for almost 20 years. Yeah. But yeah, great career for Jesse Chavez.
Yeah, underrated. I mean, let me see. Yeah, because I mean, he's in his 40s. Did he get 10 years service time? Did he get the?
I think so. I mean, I remember he started with the A's way back in the day.
14 years. Yeah, 14 years service time. I mean, yeah, 2008 made his debut. Yeah, been a long road for him, but yeah, that's a great career for him. And yeah, I mean, 41 years old. It was, you know. The Braves kept giving him chances, but it had to happen at some point. So great career, but yeah, one of those sneaky. He's gonna be a great trivia guy question, or if you play, like how many teams did he play for? I mean, yeah, he's got a few teams on there, so it'd be a great trivia name to keep in mind.
Totally. The other retired player we have is retiring for the second time. Daniel Bard retired once back after the 2013 season due to extensive injuries, but he made his return with the Rockies for 4 years. And there were a couple years where he was really good. He did have the 2022 campaign where he recorded 34 saves with a 1.79 ERA, which is impressive enough for a 37-year-old who already retired once, but even more so considering he was not only pitching for the Rockies organization, but in their ballpark. So sad to see Daniel Bard go. We can't make any more Daniel Bard jokes, but it was fun that we got to podcast while he was active.
Yeah, we'll always, I mean, as a Red Sox fan, I remember the hype around him when he was coming up through the organization and just never really panned out. But yeah, we'll always have that 2022 season. That a super unprecedented run that no one was expecting for 34 saves, 1.79 ERA. Yeah. So yeah, there's always that.
It is, and it earned him an extension too, which was bonkers. Got him paid. Still is right. He got to retire rich. Yeah. All right. Well, with those guys saying goodbye, we'll also say goodbye to some other guys, only temporarily though, as they land on the injured list, starting with Chris Martin, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a calf strain. Apparently, he's set to miss 4 to 6 weeks with that calf strain. Replacing Martin on the active roster will be Cole Winn, who was recalled from the minors. So far, he's been really good this year. I don't know if it's deserving, as his xFIP is in the mid-4s, but he does have a 0.94 ERA between AAA and the majors across 47 and 2/3 innings pitched. Winn was a former top starting pitching prospect, so I've been waiting for him to sort of take off as a reliever. It hasn't really happened, unless you consider it this year. But yeah, no more Chris Martin. So that's a pretty big blow to the Rangers bullpen.
Yeah, this bullpen needs a lot of help. If this team's, you know, serious about making a run, losing Martin for that length of time, potentially longer, especially you know, Martin's age and injury history, that could push into September, and this team is just kind of I think a game and a half out the playoffs, something like that. So they could use all the help they can in that bullpen. And I know they got Jon Gray back, but what is the expectations for Jon Gray as a reliever? So yeah, they're really just like hanging on by a thread with Garcia, Armstrong, and Milner, and like kind of scraps after that.
Yeah.
So that they expect them to be in the market for a reliever. Probably it should be a closer of some sort, but at least some high leverage reliever.
Right. So you mentioned Jon Gray, who was activated from the 60-day IL after missing the entire season with a fractured forearm that he suffered during spring training. And the corresponding move to that was honestly maybe more interesting than Gray. Like, obviously, I'd love to see what he can do out of the bullpen, because he's probably not going to factor into that rotation unless Patrick Corbin gets dealt. But Luke Jackson was designated for assignment. He's yet to be claimed by anyone, so I'm thinking he probably gets traded somewhere, but pretty notable, especially if you had told people in early April when they were probably dropping a bunch of fab on Luke Jackson that he's going to be DFA'd before the trade deadline. They'd probably be a little curious.
Yeah, I mean, at least I was saying that this was probably going to happen. And that's Luke Jackson.
Right.
Track record speaks for itself. I mean, yeah, they needed an upgrade there, and he was out of options. So again, there's got to be some more moves coming down the pike. I mean, eventually they'll get Spores back, and of course Martin will come back eventually. But yeah, Jackson, I think Gray kind of just slides into that middle relief role Jackson was filling at the moment. I don't know, Gray. It's only been one outing for Jon Gray, but I was hoping to see like a big increase in velocity. Like, okay, you're coming out of the bullpen now. Let's see that. You know, typically we see like 2 to 3 miles per hour from starters turn relievers, and Gray was actually down a little bit from where he was last year. So again, one outing, so let's give him some time. But not the most exciting start for him. So I'm not, you know, there was a point early in the season where I thought Gray could become their closer, but yeah, if he's still like 94 with his fastball in a relief role, it's not ideal. So yeah, they just need to if they're going to be serious, and they should be, because they have, you know, Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom pitching as well as they have. I mean, those guys aren't going to be pitching this well much longer. So go get some bullpen help and make a run. That third wild card spot's wide open.
Definitely. I think for now, though, with Jackson out and Martin out, Garcia probably has a stronger hold on the closer role, and Sean Armstrong probably becomes a lot more fantasy relevant. He only has 10 save plus holds this year, but he has been, I would say, in competition with Garcia for being the best reliever on this Rangers squad. And I think he may start eating into Garcia's save opportunities, just like Jackson was. Yeah,
depending on matchups and whatnot, they'll still mix and match at the back end. So, yeah, I mean, Armstrong's been kind of an unsung hero in that bullpen, along with Hobie Milner, who's just, you know, another veteran they brought in who's kind of held down the fort from the left side.
Yeah. All right. Our next IL placement involves Tanner Scott, who was placed on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. Fortunately, an MRI revealed no structural damage in Scott's elbow. In a corresponding move, Alexis Diaz was recalled from the minors. So that's notable there, as he has spent a lot of the season in the minor leagues for the Dodgers and the Reds. And appears to be in line for a lot of holds moving forward because of the lack of options in that bullpen. However, the Dodgers did bring up Edgardo Henriquez back from the minors and designated Lou Trevino for assignment. So there is another guy there who could help out, but there's very few traditional relievers in this bullpen, especially from the right side.
Yeah, and they should have Blake Treinen back at some point this weekend or early next week at the latest. So yeah, I know. Yeah, Roster Resource has Alexis Diaz as the top setup guy there, but there's no way that can't be true. As long as Kirby Yates, Edgardo Henriquez, and Blake Treinen are available,
and even Alex Vesia,
and yeah, of course Vesia. I mean, they have Vesia in the closer role. That's probably, I'd imagine Vesia kind of just being left-handed. He's easier to. He was already kind of seeing some save chances when they used Scott in like the 7th inning. But yeah, Vesia is their best reliever right now on the roster by far. It's not much of a competition, so he probably sees the bulk of save chances. I do wonder, I mean, I joke about it, but it's like the Dodgers farm system's still pretty loaded. They're obviously in it to win now. Like, they could go out and get like a Johan Duran, or I mean, maybe if Mason Miller is really available, something like that, where it sounds like Tanner Scott's injury is not as serious as he first thought. So it's not like there's a need for a closer next year. But it's the Dodgers. I could see them going after a big fish just to shore up the bullpen, which has been, I mean, I know the starting rotation's been a little hit or miss, but once they're healthy, they should be fine. So I think the bullpen might be where they focus a lot of other assets in the trade deadline.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate for Dodgers haters like myself. But yeah, it's crazy to say that too, because of how stacked the bullpen was heading into this season. And, they just dealt with so many injuries. Tanner Scott, Treinen, Kopech, Phillips, Brusdar Graterol, and still, they're still really good. But you can never have too many relievers. I don't think they would be crying about having, like a Johan Duran or a Mason Miller or Griffin Jax next year competing with Tanner Scott for the closer role.
God. Jax would be, that would annoy me too. Just like, yeah, that's not fair. Come on.
Right. I agree. All right. Our last IL placement involves Felix Bautista, who landed on the 15-day IL with shoulder discomfort. It sort of came out of nowhere, as this was an injury he didn't suffer pitching in a game. It was before a game. He told manager, is it still Brandon Hyde over there?
No,
it's not.
Anthony.
We've done this before.
Yeah, I know.
I can't remember.
The intern is Tony Mansolino.
There we go. Yeah, Tony Mansolino. I'm gonna have to lock that one in. That's I feel like that's the first time hearing that name from me, but it's definitely not. So he had told his manager, Felix Bautista did, that he was going to be unavailable, and then was subsequently placed on the IL. So hopefully Bautista's okay. We do know that he just missed the whole last year and a half with Tommy John surgery or some sort of elbow surgery, invasive elbow surgery. So that's unfortunate. Cade Stroud was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, but it looks like we'll see Seranthony Dominguez taking over as the closer in Baltimore, because Yenier Cano's been continuing to struggle.
Yeah, Dominguez is the closer for maybe the next day or two or whatever. I wouldn't until he gets traded. And then it's going to be Cano versus Kittredge. I mean, Kittredge could also be traded. I mean, Cano could also be traded. Who knows? If they're willing to move on from Brian Baker, this whole bullpen probably is available realistically. So, so that it's even we already saw Gregory Soto traded. So they're already moving pieces from that bullpen. I don't think it's really worth chasing anyone there. I know it's Cano could be the guy when all is said and done come Friday, but I don't know. I guess I want to kind of see what the MRI looks like on Bautista. If he's only going to miss 15 or 20 days, probably don't do anything. I probably wouldn't make any moves here. But if Bautista's out through August, then okay, who's the Orioles closer in August? Probably Cano, or if Kittredge does stay, because they have a club option. I don't think they're going to pick that up on him next year. It's $11 million or something crazy for Andrew Kittredge. But if he does stay, gives Cano at least some competition, along with Keegan Aiken should be back soon, but he hasn't been all that great this year either. But gives him a lefty.
Yeah, and they do have a lot of options there, but none that really stand out like they did last year. And as you mentioned, with the trade of Brian Baker and Gregory Soto, who we'll discuss later, they are sort of getting rid of the options, the guys that we would have expected. Brian Baker was sort of primed to be the closer here in a case like this, right? But not anymore, as he's now pitching for the Rays. So hopefully the news is good on Felix Bautista's imaging, and he's not going to be out for an extended period of time. Otherwise, the Orioles will be struggling probably to find a consistent option in the 9th inning. All right, those are our injuries. Now we'll move into our transactions, starting with a pretty notable one. And this is almost like trade deadline adjacent, as David Robertson signed with the Phillies and was subsequently optioned to the minors to sort of warm up to pitching back in live games. But Robertson has been really good throughout his career. And it was really weird that he didn't get a deal right out of or during the offseason. And I think it was because he probably wanted a lot of money, because I know that they had to sign him for something like $13 million, and that deal is like prorated. So Robertson's still going to get $6 million from the Phillies. So he's probably asking for a lot, but I mean, rightfully so. Despite being 40 years old this year, last year he pitched to a 3 ERA across a career high 72 innings with a 33.4% strikeout rate, one of the best seasons of his career at 39. And so I don't think he's lost a step, and it's possible and honestly not far-fetched to suggest that Robertson may be immediately in line for saves when he gets called up, or at least in the conversation.
Yeah, it's possible, but honestly, if that is the case, then the Phillies have failed. Like their roster and their team, because they need to go out and get a dude to close out games for them. Robertson's a nice addition, but I mean he's 41. He hasn't pitched all year. I don't really know what type of what we're gonna see from him. So it's kind of unfair to just throw him into the closer role in August 1st or whenever he comes up. So yeah, I know they've been linked to Duran and Jax, but like there's other guys available too who could fill in that closer role. So yeah, the Phillies need to nice addition adding Robertson. They needed some right-handed help, but I don't. They got to go out and get some guy that's got some, they really should be looking at someone like Duran's, because they don't have an answer for the closer role next year or the year after either. So, yeah, I know Dombrowski loves just kind of mix and match in his bullpen and not paying guys there, but like, go get someone and close that gap there, because that bullpen could, that might be their weak link come October.
Right. All right, so that will definitely be a bullpen to keep an eye on in Philadelphia. Next, we'll keep this one quick. Jose Quijada was selected from the minors by the Angels. I put this one on here because he was noticeably really good at AA, which I don't know how much that says about him. Quijada had a 2.73 ERA with a 1.14 whip and a 37% strikeout rate across 26 and third innings pitched at AA. And I'm curious about that one because he's sort of old for pitching at AA. He is 29, but Quijada has been the closer for the Angels in the past and has, been pretty solid throughout his career. I don't think he's going to become super fantasy relevant, but definitely in like deep save plus holds leagues, Quijada could become somebody that starts getting holds with decent ratios and strikeout totals for the Angels.
Yeah, potentially. He's had some years in his past where he's looked pretty good. I'm not huge. And he's just like a one pitch guy, unless he's changed some things up. But just like kind of a middling fastball, and just hope. And he's gotten some strikeouts from it in the past. He's had some good strikeout rates. But yeah, I'm not too invested into Jose Quijada this time around. I don't understand why he was in AA and not AAA, but that's just the Angels being the Angels, I guess.
Oh yeah. All right, well, now we can start to get closer to the trade deadline as we discuss the trade that sent Josh Naylor from the Diamondbacks to the Mariners. And this one is notable because the D-backs received from the Mariners Brandon Garcia, who is a relief pitching prospect, a southpaw. He was the number 13 Mariners prospect according to MLB Pipeline, and you rarely see relievers get ranked that highly by MLB Pipeline. So somewhat notable. Between AA and AAA, Garcia had a 3.51 ERA, a 1.38 WHIP, 28% strikeout rate, and 11% walk rate across 33 and a third innings pitched for the minor league affiliates of the Mariners. He won't immediately factor in this bullpen, but he did get a call up earlier in July. So he is going to be on the 40-man roster for the D-backs, and they are hurting right now for any sort of relief pitching help. So we could see him back up. I don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant this year, but it's definitely a name to keep an eye on as like a future possible closer or really good setup man for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, they already have two young lefties that are pretty good relievers in Backus and Sal Frank, but those dudes, they're soft tossing lefties, and Garcia's got a little bit better of a fastball, so he's different from those two guys. More upside for sure. Yeah, I'd imagine we see him at some point very soon. He's already on the 40-man. They already have those two lefties, but they could, why not have a third? Because it's still better than some of the other guys they're rolling out, Jake Woodford, for example. So just, I would be kind of excited to see him maybe, with Shelby Miller potentially being traded. Like there could be some save opportunities opened up, because Kevin Ginkel hasn't been pitching well still. So yeah, doors open there in Arizona. If someone, has a good August, they could start seeing some saves in September maybe.
That's Brandon Garcia, acquired via trade from the Mariners. Before we move forward and continue to discuss the rest of the transactions from the past week, we're going to take a quick break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham discussing relief pitchers. Our next transaction that we'll discuss involves Mason Montgomery being recalled from the minors by the Rays. That was in a corresponding move to Taj Bradley's surprising demotion to AAA. Mason Montgomery, though, tons of potential, but he's not been great this year. 5.74 ERA, 29% strikeout rate, but he's got incredible stuff that we're hoping is better this time around. I sort of want to check real quick how good he's been in the minors since being demoted, because it wasn't that long. It was like he was demoted on the 7th, so that's like 18 days, and I think he pitched like 5 games, 1.80 ERA. He didn't walk anybody. That's dope. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, 38%, 39% strikeout rate. That's good. Yeah, the walks had started to creep up on him recently, which is very uncharacteristic of him, given his what he had been doing at the MLB level prior to the last 2 months. So, I don't know what to expect, because my expectations for him are way too high to begin with. So obviously it has to be tempered a little bit, but yeah, it's again, this Rays bullpen could be very different next week. Could open up some doors. I know Edwin Uceta is pitching really well right now. I feel like
finally,
I know he's just striking out everyone right now. So I'm starting to go back towards him being the replacement if they move on from Fairbanks over Baker and definitely Montgomery at this point. But that could still be a pretty fun, 3-headed monster at the back end with and add Clevenger in there as well. So they still have some dudes, even if they do trade Fairbanks. Doesn't really hurt their bullpen at all.
Right. All right. Next, we've got Hunter Harvey, who was activated from the 15-day IL. He's been out since early April with a shoulder strain. Jonathan Bolin was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move, but we could see Harvey quickly enter into high leverage situations for the Royals because their bullpen isn't super stacked. They've had some guys that have performed well above their expected metrics this year, namely Steven Cruz and John Schreiber, and even Lucas Erceg hasn't been as good as he was in the past couple of years, but Harvey is somebody in the past that has been counted upon in high leverage situations. He looked really good to start the season as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him start pitching in the 7th, 8th inning pretty soon for the Royals.
I wonder if, but he's also a free agent to be. I don't know what the Royals. It's like these teams kind of rushing guys, but like, hey, get them a couple good innings and trade them maybe. Because if Harvey's healthy and pitching well, that could be a low key, you know, huge addition at the deadline that probably doesn't cost the team that much. So if he just shows, you know, in a game or two that he's got that velo back up into the upper 90s, yeah, that all of a sudden adds another, you know, guy, kind of like in that Sir Anthony Dominguez realm where it's like some closing experience, but probably best off as a setup guy for a good team. So yeah, or if he stays in Kansas City, yeah, I would imagine he slots right in behind. I mean, Ursig hasn't pitched that well lately and all year, to be honest. So I could see him getting that 8th inning roll back, and Harvey was getting a ton of holds before he ended up on the IL. So yeah, someone to keep an eye on in save plus holds leagues.
Definitely. All right, now we'll wrap up our transactions with a trio of notable Mets moves, beginning with Brooks Raley, who was activated from the 60-day IL. He had missed the whole season thus far, recovering from Tommy John surgery. Richard Lovelady was designated for assignment in a corresponding move. I'll keep moving down the list. The Mets also activated Jose Butto from the 15-day IL. He had been out with an unspecified illness. Justin Garza was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And then the kicker of the trio, Gregory Soto, was traded by the Orioles to the Mets in exchange for starting pitcher Wellington Aracena, probably, and relief pitcher Cameron Foster, who's a 26-year-old right-handed pitcher who at AA and AAA this year pitched to a 2.97 ERA with a 1.05 whip and a 33% strikeout rate, as well as a pretty notably low 7% walk rate across 30 and a third innings pitched. So Foster, pretty notable reception there for the Orioles, but Soto is going to be the main piece of this trade that everybody's going to discuss. So the Mets already in the process of upgrading their bullpen, like I said, bringing back Brooks Raley and Jose Butto from the IL, and then acquiring Gregory Soto from the Orioles. Yeah,
it's the Raley and Soto moves are the huge ones, because we've been talking about the Mets having no left-handed reliever there for like all year. And now they have two who probably are their best relievers outside of Edwin Diaz at the moment. So Soto's so hit or miss. He'll give you like a really good month and a really terrible month and a really good month. So as long as you just catch that like fire, like when he's catch that that hot streak from him, then Mets fans, he feels like a guy I just like that Mets fans are gonna just not enjoy, because it's so streaky and there's a lot of walks, a lot of base runners,
stress inducing.
But he probably makes the most sense to be their 7th or probably 8th inning guy right now. I mean, Stanek and Garrett have been very hit or miss. Garrett's been a little bit better lately, but I don't know. I don't trust.
I feel like that's the sub-3 ERA from Garrett is misleading, because it was like 1 month ago, it was like sub-1.
Yeah. He's gotten a lot of luck this year, a lot of left on base. So I don't know. Behind Edwin Diaz, I don't think the Mets are done with their bullpen. I like the Soto move, but there needs to be, I think, one more addition here. And I've seen, and I don't know because of the injury now, but like Felix Bautista's name was mentioned as an option for them, because Edwin Diaz is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and are they going to pay him $100+ million when they have like Alonso to re-sign? They have other needs. They definitely could afford to keep Edwin Diaz, but they might spend that money elsewhere. So if they do, then they have a huge hole, obviously, in the closer role there. So maybe they go after a Bautista, Clase, Duran type, where they get some control over them. Imagine like a Duran Diaz 8th, 9th, or Clase Diaz. So
not fair.
We'll see. But Soto's a good start. They needed a lefty, and he's got some setup and closing experience as well. So and Brooks Raley's looked great since coming back. I wasn't sure what to expect from him. It's been so long since we've really seen him. So, but so far so good for Raley.
All right. Well, that will wrap up our news, notes, and transactions. We're going to be skipping the 3 up, 3 down section that we usually do because there was few movement on Rick's closer ranks because of the All-Star break. So we'll jump right into our main topic, giving us plenty of time to discuss the trade deadline. This is our last chance to do so. Our next pod will be right after the trade deadline, so we'll be able to wrap everything up, give you an overview of all the trades and how that's going to shake out in terms of fantasy. But here we're going to do our best of predicting who's going to get traded, which teams are likely to be selling. And yeah, I guess we could start off by looking at the playoff odds, see which teams are likely to be selling and which teams are likely to be buying. It looks like the Mets are at the top. They're clearly going to be buying because they already just traded for Gregory Soto. I think teams like the Yankees, who just acquired Ryan McMahon today, and the Seattle Mariners, who acquired Eugenio Suarez yesterday, are also likely to be buying. And then
Josh Naylor.
Right. And who did I say?
Eugenio Suarez.
The wrong Diamondbacks corner infielder.
The guy everyone thought the Mariners were going to get. Yeah.
Right. And now what? Does he go to the Cubs or something? I feel like that's most likely.
I feel like every team, almost not every team, but a lot of the teams in the playoff like contention, they all kind of need a third baseman or corner infielder. So I don't know. There's going to be a lot of teams after Suarez.
Right. And he
the
could
Cubs make a ton of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then we have a bunch of teams on the fringe that have pretty high playoff odds, like the Padres, Red Sox, Giants, and even the Rangers and the Rays are somewhat still in the mix. I think all these teams are likely to be buying. The Rays already did. They got Brian Baker a couple weeks ago, and the Giants technically are buyers, having acquired Rafael Devers earlier in the season. But I think all these teams are going to be looking to upgrade their bullpen, except for maybe the Padres and the Red Sox. Padres bullpen is stacked. I feel like they don't need much else. And the Red Sox are probably going to be trading from their bullpen because Aroldis Chapman is such a weird situation.
Yeah, I don't know what the Red Sox plan is. Depends on who you listen to. It sounds like they want to buy starting pitching, but potentially, yeah, sell. They don't want to be like full buyers because as they should be, because there's a little hesitancy around where this team can go. They've been playing under 500 since the All-Star break. But if you can move Chapman and then go out and get a cost-controlled starter, I think that's the best route for the Red Sox. But yeah, we'll talk about like the odds and whatnot. But yeah, I do see Chapman still being traded. Just he's going to get you the return is going to be too good to turn down, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, Padres just absolutely stacked bullpen. The Giants bullpen is really good. They could use some upgrades, especially because of how reliant they've been on guys like Joey Lucchesi, who's surprisingly been really good, which is super weird. 1.93 ERA and a 31% strikeout rate across 14 innings thus far for Joey Lucchesi. Not what I would have expected, but that bullpen still feels shaky, and I feel like it's because they won't use Randy Rodriguez as the closer. Like Doval just doesn't give me confidence, and Ryan Walker has yet to sort of lock back into the guy that he was the past couple of years. So I feel like they probably won't be like shopping on the higher end, but the Giants are probably going to get at least somebody, I would think.
Yeah, they could probably use a lefty. Doesn't have to be a high-end lefty, just some other lefty,
because Eric Miller's out.
Eric Miller's hurt, and he wasn't even pitching that well before he got hurt. So
what's wrong with a 1.50 ERA?
The 1.50 whip.
That's right.
Crazy. And but yeah, the Giants and Padres have two of the better bullpens in baseball.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. The Red Sox, I don't know. I know a lot of teams want them to buy. I get it. They played really well heading up to the All-Star break, but they also played, Washington and Colorado. And the lineup's just not the same without Devers. It's there's this very hit or miss, that lineup. So it's not even just needing a starter or needing another bullpen piece. There's a lot of issues with this Red Sox team if they really want to make a run this year.
Yeah. And we already discussed the Rangers' need for a bullpen piece there, so I think they'll definitely be buying if they want to have any chance at the postseason. The Guardians, though, are probably not going to be in the playoff race. I expect them and the Cardinals to be sellers, along with the Twins, who are I think, pretty obvious sellers. They pretty much hold all the cards with two really great relievers that they are sort of in prime position to trade one of. So I feel like Guardians, Cardinals, Twins are likely to be sellers.
Yeah, but based off the playoff odds, that makes sense. The Guardians have been playing well lately, so they might try to, make a push given their current winning streak. Not winning streak, they lost yesterday, but they had been playing better. Or they, Cade Smith is also another guy along with Clase, and I guess even Hunter Gaddis has had some interest amongst other teams. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways that the Guardians could go here, but if they do open up some of their relievers, Cade Smith's someone who I could see getting like a deal, someone offering them something just too good to give up, too good to pass on for Cade Smith, just given the control he has left and how well he pitched last year. The Cardinals, I feel like HELSLEY and Matone are definitely going at this point.
And I got a notification that HELSLEY said he expects to be traded.
Yeah, they've kind of just fallen out of the running here. So HELSLEY might be the best closer available, depending on how available those guys control really are. Between HELSLEY or Bednar, I would say, or unless Chapman does become available, Duran, Bautista, Mason Miller, Clase. So HELSLEY, I would say, is close to an 80% chance now to go.
Yeah, the Reds are in a weird situation where their record sort of suggests they should still be in it. They're 53-50, and I think that's probably, I don't know if they played yesterday, but their odds are really low. They're not going to win the division, but I feel like they are like a 1 week run away from like being back into it. But I think they would be stupid not to sell, because I don't think they're going to get great returns, but guys like Emilio Pagan and Taylor Rogers should probably be traded. And I think they'd survive anyway without those guys. They've been really good this year for them. Rogers, 2.56 ERA and a 24% strikeout rate. Emilio Pagan, 2.83 ERA, 21 saves and a 31% strikeout rate. But with those guys pitching so well, you're likely to get a much better return than you would otherwise. So I think they would be smart to sell those guys and maybe add elsewhere, but pitching is not the strong suit of the Reds, and really neither is their hitting.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you could move on from Pagan, Rogers, and even Barlow has been pitching pretty well. Yeah. And they have some guys in the minors who are at least interesting, interesting relief prospects and arms to look at. They can recall May, Zach,
which
Maxwell
they did
down there. Yeah,
because somebody's on the paternity list. I forget who it is.
Oh, I think it might be Barlow, actually.
That's right. I was confused. I was like, where did he go? Yeah, I think Barlow's on the paternity list. Yeah. Luis May's up, but that's going to be just for the weekend.
But, yeah, I mean, it's not a huge – I mean, Pagan's been a lifesaver for them this year, but at the same time, he's got really good trade value. And is this, again, like this is kind of where I know the Red Sox have a better chance to make the playoffs, but both those teams, it's like I feel like they're still like a year away from kind of putting everything together. At least the Reds, it feels like they've been a year away
for like 5 years.
But at least if you get like the rotation's starting to come together. I know the lineup's been struggling. A lot of those guys in that lineup have struggled this year, but are they going to go out? I mean, that's another one that could be a fun one. I've seen like Eugenio Suarez be mentioned as going back to Cincinnati, which would be cool. Just for the vibes, but I don't know. I don't know. Are they going to give up a prospect for a rental? They might, just because Francona's there and they're trying to win now. But yeah, I don't think I would if I were them.
Yeah. Well, the next couple of teams likely don't have much to sell. The Royals, Diamondbacks, Angels are not great teams when it comes to bullpens. Obviously, the D-backs have Shelby Miller, but he is currently on the injured list. So outside of that, they don't really have anybody enticing. The Royals have some guys that have had good seasons, as we discussed, but the guys that I think teams would want to trade for, like Carlos Estevez and Lucas Erceg, are probably not on the block because of the amount of control that they have. And I would think the Royals are going to want to compete again next year. So really they're going to be looking to try to trade like guys like John Schreiber and Hunter Harvey, who may not be super enticing to teams. And then the Angels are just, you know, they don't really have the best bullpen. I don't think teams are going to be calling about Jose Quijada and Brock Burke.
Yeah, it depends on what Kenley Jansen situation is there,
right.
What he wants to do, what the team wants to do with him, and but they don't have anything else really. Diamondbacks, that's another like kind of like with Hunter Harvey. It's like if the Diamondbacks are kind of pushing Shelby Miller to return, so it sounds like he's able to pitch. If maybe he can get an inning in with them next week, and then they could trade him. That would be a big plus for them because 2 weeks ago it looked like Shelby Miller was not going to be available the rest of the year. So, but other than Miller, no one's really going to be interested in the rest of that bullpen. Carlos Estevez could be on the block. I don't know. Probably not worth. I don't think a team's going to give up anything of interest.
Right, because they got to take on the contract if not.
Yeah, you got to take on the contract and those metrics.
As soon as he gets traded, everything's going down.
I know. I saw
up if we're talking about ERA.
I saw somewhere there was a trade proposal having Estevez go to the Yankees, and I'm like, oh, please. As a Red Sox fan, please get him in New York. That would be awesome if the Yankees think that's the answer to their bullpen.
That would be funny.
But yeah, Hunter Harvey now becomes interesting because he's back on it. I was like almost forgot about him because it's been so long. But yeah, he could definitely be a mover in the next week.
Yeah. All right. Well, the rest of these teams are definitely out of the playoff race and are definitely selling and maybe have some interesting options. The Braves have a great closer and some other veterans that they could be dealing. The Orioles have already dealt from their plethora of relievers, and they still can continue to do so with guys like Sir Anthony Dominguez and Andrew Kittredge still around. The Marlins have a lot of younger relievers, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be calling the Marlins up, but the Pirates, the A's, even the Nationals have some great guys. White Sox, Rockies, not so much so, but there's definitely plenty of options on these lower rung teams for them to deal and hopefully get some prospects back.
Yeah, I think, starting with the Braves, Iglesias is going to be the biggest piece there. Rafael Montero's pitched pretty well, and he's a free agent to be, but the Braves would have to eat the rest of his contract most likely.
Mm-hmm.
I know I saw a report that teams have called about Dylan Lee, but the ask is pretty high right now.
Pierce Johnson's a pretty good one.
I think he's got some sort of option, but
he does have a 2026 club option.
So that could be enticing for teams. I think Johnson would get a nice little return for them. So they could completely not blow up that bullpen, but it could be very different come next year. The only guy in Miami, I think, like Anthony Bender might have some interest around the league. He's when is he a free agent?
He's got 20 more years of control. So, 2 more years of control.
Yeah, so you get 26, 27. The Marlins might be willing to move on from him. Maybe Calvin Fauché, if that's interesting to anyone.
If they're smart, yeah.
Yeah. The Pirates, obviously Bednar and Santana are the ones to watch. It's definitely time to move both of them, I think. And I think the Pirates are – it sounds like, at least there's some smoke to them just kind of dealing everyone on that roster. Because, they need to make some moves here, shake some things up, get some bats in that organization. So I'd expect one of Bednar and Santana to go, if not both. Orioles, we already saw, Soto and Sir Anthony Dominguez will be the next one, most likely, and then possibly Kittredge. But, I don't think Bautista gets moved
No, the injury is just the worst timing too.
Yeah, it's going to be tough with that injury and trying to work out physicals and yeah. Yeah, I mean, Athletics, so they're not going to move Mason Miller, right?
Yeah, and then Jose Leclerc is undergoing shoulder surgery, so he won't be back anytime soon. So it really feels like, I don't know, Sean Newcomb is your only option to trade.
There's I've seen kind of conflicting things about Mason Miller and whether or not he's available. He could be the surprise of the deadline, or there's no chance he goes. I feel like there's, it just takes one team to blow the Athletics away with some sort of offer. And again, you're talking about a guy who's, a reliever with injury history. I think the Athletics got to at least entertain the idea.
I mean, he hasn't even been that great this year. I mean, he's turned things around a little bit since the first half, but not as unreal as he was last year.
Set a high bar, set a high asking price, but don't. I hate the teams that are just like, oh, we're not willing to listen. It's like, why don't you just listen and just like, This isn't like, this isn't fantasy baseball where like someone's offering you the dumbest trade ever every day. It's like, just listen and see what they have to say, and all right. But yeah, Miller is someone they should listen on, and that doesn't mean they have to make a deal, but yeah. They have other needs there, especially in the starting rotation. If they get a young potential starter out of Mason Miller, then yeah, I think they gotta consider that. So the rest of the teams, I mean, the Nationals, like Kyle Finnegan's probably gonna get traded if anyone's interested. But I don't think that wherever he goes, it's not going to be as a closer. White Sox and Rockies, I don't know, who knows. Some interesting pieces, but nothing really fantasy relevant, unless someone from unless the Rockies. I saw Seth Halverson's name get mentioned. That would be interesting if he gets out of Coors. Goes somewhere.
Did you see they brought up Nick Anderson?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's the Rockies.
Right.
They got a lot of young, interesting pitching prospects, but we're going to go with Nick Anderson. Maybe they'll move on from. I mean, Tyler Kinley should probably get traded just to get him out of there, get him out of Coors. He deserves better. He's still kind of an underrated pitcher. I think he could be a solid middle relief option for a good team, outside of Coors especially. So hopefully they at least move Kinley and maybe like another veteran like Jake Bird, but who knows? Yeah.
Nationals, though, they've got a couple of veteran options like Luis Garcia, Andrew Chafin, and obviously Kyle Finnegan that probably going to be dealt.
Yeah, Chafin and possibly Garcia will definitely have some value and some interest as well. Chafin's always available at the deadline, I feel.
Right.
If he's on a team that's not winning. Just that solid lefty to have in your bullpen come playoff time.
Right. All right. So next we'll talk about some guys in more depth and discuss who might be replacing them and their odds of being traded. But first, we're going to take another break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relief pitchers. We are going to talk about some guys who are very likely to be traded, and we'll discuss them in depth. We'll start off with some guys who are probably getting traded. We've talked a lot about Shelby Miller already. His contract situation is he's earning $1 million this year, and he'll be a free agent after this season. Back in early July, we discussed the possibility of his trade being dependent heavily on his injury, ranging from 0% if he's out for the rest of the year and all the way up to 75% if he returns healthy. Right now, I don't know. It's sort of still up in the air because he's still on the injured list. We haven't heard much news other than that he's not getting surgery and that he's working his way back, but he's running out of time. What would you put the current odds of a trade for Shelby Miller at?
It's still a tough one because of the injury. I think like the fact that he's throwing at least is gonna intrigue some team to give something for Shelby Miller to take a chance on him. The return is not going to be what the Diamondbacks had hoped for, but at this point they'll probably take whatever they can get for Miller. So I'm kind of leaning towards it being like 70%. Just because he's throwing at least, and it just takes one team to make an offer that the Diamondbacks are going to accept. So I think we'll see, 5 or 6 Diamondbacks go in the next week. I think Miller is going to be one of them.
All right. And when Miller gets traded, as you're suggesting, it's more likely than not, who would be the replacement in Arizona? We've already seen sort of what that situation's going to look like with Miller on the IL for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's probably Ginkel as long as he's healthy, because it's Lavulu's guy. They don't have anyone else unless they try one of the lefties out. They could get somebody in return, like a Brandon Garcia, or maybe they get another reliever in one of their trades, because they're going to have 6 to 10 guys come back at least probably in the next week in trades or whatnot. So maybe more. So yeah, maybe they find someone who could fill in for. I mean, they're going to need a closer next year too. That's the thing. Martinez is not going to be pitching until maybe late next year.
Mm-hmm.
So are they comfortable if Kevin Ginkel is their closer next year, or is next year also going to be? I mean, next year maybe is another bridge year for them, and they try to just get ready for 2027. Because yeah, I mean, Martinez and Corbin Burns, AJ Puck's going to probably be a free agent. I'm guessing they're not going to tender him a contract, or maybe they'll give him a 2-year deal or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of changes going to happen in Arizona, especially in that bullpen. But Ginkel's probably the favorite for saves the rest of the way. I don't feel the need to roster him outside of deeper leagues, 16-team rotos or NL onlys, that type of thing.
Yeah, I'd put him like right next to Seth Halverson, where you're probably not getting many saves either, because this team's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, they'll still have Corbin Carroll and
right. Who else?
Brandon
Ketel Marte,
Ryan Nelson, and Ketel Marte. But yeah, it's the starting rotation is going to take a hit, losing both Kelly and Gallen potentially.
Yeah, and it's already been decimated by injuries with like Gordon Montgomery and Corbin Burns. Yeah, pretty rough season for the Diamondbacks. That team was so fun before the season started. It had really some great pieces, and they were just absolutely destroyed by injuries. And I know better than a lot of people, maybe better than most non-Diamondbacks fans, because of the playing time analysis that I do, just how bad those injuries have hit the Diamondbacks. But yeah, that's Shelby Miller, 70% likelihood of getting traded, with Kevin Ginkel replacing him when and if he does. Next, we've got Kyle Finnegan, who, perennial closer for the Nationals. They just cannot get rid of him. Literally, they tried last year. Nobody wanted him. He didn't get signed by anybody in the offseason. They were just like, well, I guess we'll resign you and make you the closer again. He's been worse this year than he has been the past couple of years. 4.62 ERA, 19% strikeout rate, and he's set to be a free agent after this year, earning $6 million in 2025. We set the odds of a trade for him a couple weeks ago at 70%. What would you put the current odds of Kyle Finnegan being traded?
I know I put the odds of him at 70%, and that was before he's had some bad outings since then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much that hurts his stock or whatnot. I still feel like they have to try to trade him, so I'll say 70% still. It's like they're probably gonna go, but I don't know. Maybe they just play this whole song and dance again and let him go to free agency and then re-sign him in March for cheap again, and he's their closer. Next.
I mean, it's not
spring. I don't know.
It's not like they don't want to trade him. I assume they're like, please take him. And everybody's like, no, like this, why are you having him close? He's not that good. And they're just like, come on, he's a closer. What do you mean? He's got 19 saves.
Look at all those
he had
saves.
38 saves. Yeah. Look at all those saves. He is a closer. And nobody's falling for it. Especially because you'll have to pay him a little bit too. So I don't know. I feel like it's maybe even higher likelihood that he gets DFA'd before somebody trades for him. But I don't know why the Nationals would do that. I guess to save a bit of money, but yeah, I think it would be at 100% likelihood of being traded, if not for him being not very enticing to clubs that are trying to win. If Finnegan does get traded, who would you expect to take over? Because we have 0 relievers in Washington that have recorded a save this year outside of Kyle Finnegan.
Yeah, it's pretty gross behind him.
Especially if like Garcia and Chapin get traded.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily advocate for anyone. It looks like Brad Lord's back in the rotation, so to me, it just leaves Jose Ferrer. And again, like the numbers, the strikeout, whip, ERA numbers are not far off from Kyle Finnegan. If not, they're actually worse. But Ferrer's pitched better lately. He got off to a really bad start.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, there's at least some fun, upside here with Ferrer. It's a kind of dream on, I guess. Lefty who throws upper 90s. If he just needs to figure out his secondaries a little bit more, but yeah, Ferrer's like between him and Ginkel. If Finnegan gets traded and Shelby Miller gets traded, I think I probably prefer Ginkel based on I don't know. Both of those guys are in the same boat, kind of, where they're really just deep league dart throws. Yeah, because if they move on from all these, the Nationals move on from all the veterans here, Garcia and Chafin as well. None of these guys make sense as closers. None of the remaining guys make sense except for Ferrer, who they've trusted the whole year despite struggling. So I would guess Ferrer.
All right. Well, that's Kyle Finnegan. 70% likelihood of getting traded, likely to be replaced by Jose Ferrer if he does. Next, we've got David Bednar, who's been really great this year after being demoted early in April. He has one more year of arbitration eligibility, making him a free agent following the 2026 campaign. In early July, he put it at a 65% likelihood that he gets traded. But I feel like they really should do it. What do you think the likelihood David Bednar gets traded is at now?
Yeah, I think it goes up a little bit, 75, 80%. Because, he has continued to dominate this month. His numbers look really good. This is the time to sell before something happens. And, the Pirates need to... They've been putting off a David Bednar trade for the last 3 years. I feel like his name comes up all the time. So I feel like this is the year it happens. And that being said, I think Dennis Santana goes as well. So
he's got to go either way.
Yeah. He's got the same contract situation though. He's got.
But like it's Dennis Santana. It's not David Bednar. It's Dennis Santana. Like this is the best year of his career. You got to capitalize.
Yeah, capitalize on that 1.49 ERA.
Right.
And yeah, I'm sure teams also see what he did last year and think, all right, we can get some more swing and miss from Santana, probably
because he was good he was great in the second half too.
Yeah. So who ends up closing out games for them?
That's the question. And man, if Justin Lawrence was only still healthy.
I mean, Braxton Ashcraft's the fun option. Stuff wise, he would be fun to. That they gave him a chance. He hasn't been striking out people, but the stuff's there's a reason he's a top 5 prospect for them. The stuff's legit. But yeah, it's like Isaac Matson's been really good for them. He's more of a veteran, even though he hasn't pitched that much at the major league level. He could be the boring replacement for them, depending on what they want to do. They could play matchups.
That seems like the most likely to me. And he's been good this year. 2.53. Yeah, 2.53 ERA, 28% strikeout rate. And he is 30. So it would make the most sense because they won't be tied to paying him a lot of money later on in arbitration. Yeah,
all things considered. And Ashcraft might get another chance to start too. He's another guy who's kind of
the Pirates are so cheap. There's no way they do that.
That's the main point. That's the main reason though, is the Pirates they paid Bednar. They did the Bednar close for a long time. But yeah, I don't know what they knew Bednar was like their closer of the future. Ashcraft, I feel like they still have hopes for him being a starter potentially. So leaves Matson, who again between like Ferrer, Matson, Ginkel, I don't know.
I sort of like Matson the most. I mean, just based on how he's performing.
I think so too. And I think it depends on like what does Pittsburgh really blow things up like? Is O'Neal Cruz gone? Because if O'Neal Cruz is gone, and Brian Reynolds, I mean that lineup, I don't know how they're going to score any runs ever. So yeah, it kind of depends on how bad the Pirates come out of this deadline.
Sure.
But if they just sell like some of their, like Tommy Pham and McCutcheon, it's like, okay, they'll still be okay. They'll still be okay enough where they can get some save chances. So yeah, if the Pirates have some bats left after the deadline, I would say Matson. But if they just fully blow up the whole thing, I'd probably still like Ferrer or. Yeah, I think I like Ferrer over Ginkel ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
All right. That's David Bednar, 75 to 80% likelihood of getting traded, probably replaced by Isaac Matson. Next, we'll discuss AROLDIS Chapman, who's set to be a free agent after this year. He's earning $10.75 million. And back on July 8th, we had a 60% likelihood of a Chapman getting traded, with the Red Sox continuing to play very well. Does that go up or down? Do you expect Chapman to be more or less likely to be dealt?
I want to say it stays the same. Maybe it goes down. It might be really like a 50-50 thing at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to get a gauge on what this front office is looking to do. Because it's like you saw, I don't know if you saw, like they turned down a Duran for Dylan Cease trade. So they're not moving Duran, but are they going to move small pieces? Or are they going to make a play for, like, I think this Dodgers series, and I think they lost tonight. This Dodgers series is probably going to be telling as to what they end up doing. Because it's tough to sell when you're technically in the playoffs like they are right now. But I don't know. It just is something that I watched, like knowing this team, being around, spending most of my time like invested on this team compared to others. It's just that this isn't a playoff team. It's a fun team. But they got to move Chapman because this team's built for 2027, 28 and beyond. So I'm going to say 50% for Chapman, but I do kind of hope. I can go either way. I hope he gets traded, but if not, like, all right, at least we have, a good closer for the next 2 months to watch,
right.
And hopefully in the playoffs. But that scares me too, because Chapman's never been this consistent in any season. It's like, what is August going to come and he's going to, hit a brick wall and all of a sudden the walks come back? Like what? We've never seen at his age. It's just crazy to see this because this has never been in AROLDIS Chapman before. There's always ups and downs. So, I don't know. I would sell high on him, but we'll see.
If he does get traded, who do you think replaces him? I mean, Greg Weissert leads the club outside of Chapman with 3 saves, but they did acquire Jordan Hicks from the Giants in exchange for Rafael Devers, and he pitches really well out of the bullpen and is the only guy really here outside of, I guess, Garrett Whitlock with closing experience.
It should be Whitlock, but they're not gonna mess with his the way that they use him. So I would say it's not definitely, but most likely Jordan Hicks. He has not been great since joining the roster, but I don't know. I don't know what to think of Jordan Hicks because we've only really seen like one good year, like a half a good year really from him as a reliever. That's what got him paid. But I don't know. I think a dark horse here to keep an eye on. He's been trending up, the depth chart and gaining Cora's trust is Jorge Alcala. He's been really good since the Red Sox, picked him up off waivers from Minnesota. I wouldn't be too shocked. I think if Chapman does go and they don't add anything else, I feel like Hicks and Alcala kind of become the top 2 options, with Whitlock being more of a long guy for them. And Weissert might mix in here and there too, but it's most likely Hicks given what he's making, financially, and him being part of the Devers trade. I'm sure they want him to be kind of more of a bigger face, So yeah, we'll see. I still think they should trade Chapman, but it's probably 50-50 right now.
Totally. All right. Well, 50-50 on Chapman, with Hicks likely replacing him as the closer. Our last guy who's probably getting traded is Ryan Helsley. He is set to be a free agent after this year. He's earning $8.2 million as well. In early July, we had him at a 55% likelihood of getting traded, but the Cardinals were really still in the playoff race. Now they're pretty far out of it. So I'd expect your answer to my question regarding his odds of being traded to be much higher this time.
Yeah, it's like 75-80. The Cardinals are not playing well. They just don't have the pitching depth on the rotation to make any sort of run here. They just DFA'd Eric Fetty. I mean, they gave up. I know Tommy Edmonds struggled a little bit, but still a weird trade they made last year. So Helsley should be gone. If they move on from Helsley, that means Phil Maton's probably gone. So who ends up closing there? I think Jojo Romero could also be traded. He's had a good year. He's had a nice bounce back year. And I think he's only got 2 years left of team control, or
I think
1
just
year.
One more.
Yeah. So Romero's another name to keep an eye on as a lefty with 1 year of team control left. Teams will be interested. Really opens the door because the options there also aren't great. Riley O'Brien throws hard, but he's been inconsistent, although he's having a really good season for them, and I would think he might get the first chance. We talked about Andre Granillo before. Granillo, he just got called back up, so that's a name to keep an eye on. More of a future. He's not really dominating right now, but more of a future closer option. And Kyle Leahy was the guy for me like 2 months ago, but he's kind of taken a step back here lately. So I think Riley O'Brien, for what it's worth, who just funny random story. Someone drafted him in our NL Tout League last year, and like everyone in the room is like, who was this guy? Who are we talking about? Like no one knew who he was. So yeah.
They were a year early.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of a year and a half early because he's pitching well lately. And
yeah, I mean, he's been good in the minors too throughout his career. I guess more so recently. But yeah, really weird. It's because he's the type of guy who you like expect to be like a first round pick from like 2017, who's like a failed starter, but he was an 8th round pick, 229th overall in 2017 of the Rays, and just never really panned out. He pitched briefly in 2021 and last year for the Cardinals, but 1.82 ERA on the season this year with a 26% strikeout rate. The walks are a bit concerning. He's got a 1.34 WHIP, so I wouldn't expect him to continue to pitch that well. But I think Granillo is probably the closer of the future as things stand. So I don't know. Yeah, it could just be Leahy versus Riley O'Brien fighting for that role if Jojo Romero also goes.
It's still like, it's not very exciting, but
no.
Yeah, I think O'Brien might be a step up for me on like Matson. I think that's like O'Brien, Matson, Ferrer, Ginkel for now.
Yeah.
That grouping. Yeah.
All right. So that's Ryan Helsley, 80% likelihood of getting traded, likely replaced by Riley O'Brien or Kyle Leahy as the closer. We'll now move into our questionable guys, and maybe some of these guys are a little less questionable than the others, but we'll start with RAISEL IGLESIAS, who is a free agent after this year. He's earning $6 million in 2025. And back in early July, we had a 45% likelihood of IGLESIAS being traded. Are you still hesitant on that? I feel like he's got to be like close to 100%. I don't see why they wouldn't trade him. They're terrible this year. The Braves are, and RAISEL IGLESIAS has turned things around and is a guy that I think teams will be okay with plugging into the closer role if they need one.
Yeah, I think it's probably up to 75-ish%, maybe 75, 80, where it's like most likely, but you never know. The Braves might want to try to just keep him around. But yeah, back when July 8th, when we were talking about it, the Braves still hadn't made it. They were pretty clearly out of playoff contention, but they hadn't, they were still talking about how like they didn't want to sell, they didn't want to, change anything, they didn't want to blow anything up. So I think they've finally come to, terms with the fact that they're not making the playoffs. They can sell some of these pieces like Ozuna, Iglesias. So yeah, Iglesias 75-80% chance he goes, and like you said, Pierce Johnson too could be on the way out. So yeah, then they might just be left with Dylan Lee and Aaron Bummer, those two lefties, and I'm guessing Lee gets some save chances, which would be fun. Because I think Lee's a pretty good reliever, left-handed or not. He deserves a chance to close out games. He almost had a chance to be the closer in June when Iglesias struggled, but I think we'll see Dylan Lee closing out games for them in August at least.
All right. Well, high likelihood of Iglesias being traded and being replaced by Dylan Lee as the closer if Pierce Johnson also gets dealt. Next, we've got Kenley Jansen, who's set to be a free agent after this year. He's earning $10 million, and we had him at a 40% likelihood of being traded in early July. The Angels were still in it. They are no longer still in it, but I am just hesitant that not only would the Angels want to, or would any other team want to acquire Jansen. I mean, he's been solid this year, and he's one of the best closers of all time, 3.28 ERA and 24% strikeout rate on the season. But he's got that whole, like, I'm not going to pitch anywhere unless I'm closing. So I feel like he may, like, I don't know, almost like pout and be like, I'm sorry, I'm injured. If he gets traded to a team where he's not closing.
And I'm not sure if I have this right, but being that he's got 10-5 rights, he can veto any trade, I think.
Can he? That's probably right.
So, yeah, I feel like I need to double check that, but especially because he's just signed a 1-year deal. I'm not sure if that changes anything, but I believe just having 10-5, he should be able to veto any trade. And yeah, I think this is a situation where I'm going to stick at 40. I'll probably go up to 50 because the Angels have fallen out of it. I'm sure they would like to move Kenley Jansen.
Oh, it's 10 consecutive. It's 10 years in the majors, but 5 years with the same team. That's what the 5.
Oh, that's what it is. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they could just be like, sorry, Kenley, we got a deal in place. You're going to go pitch in relief for the Dodgers again.
Right. Well, honestly, okay. When you put it that way, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Dodgers kind of have an opening in the closer role.
Right. And he might be okay with doing that because it means he gets a ring and he gets to be with his buddies again. Honestly, okay. When you put it like that, I feel like the likelihood goes way up.
It's still in LA.
Yeah.
I just put that together, but that could happen.
You just called that. You just made that happen. Wow. Look at you manifesting. Call you Rick Paytas. Trisha Graham.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, we'll go like 60% chance Jansen
sure.
Moved. Sounds about right.
Okay.
So if he does go, I think Reed Detmers becomes the best option there. That could be fun. Best strikeout upside of all these guys we've talked about as potential replacements. He's had some hiccups in July, but for the most part, he's pitched really well over the past 2 months. So, yeah, Reed Detmers would be at the top of my list of all the guys we've mentioned so far.
Definitely, yeah. All right, next we've got Robert SUAREZ, who is currently on a 1-year, $9.2 million contract for 2025, but he can opt into a 2-year, $16 million deal after the season. He's likely to opt out because of how good he's been over the past couple of years. So that probably means SUAREZ is a free agent in 2026 after this season. So we put the odds at 40% likelihood of him being traded in July. And that was mostly because the Padres could capitalize on SUAREZ right now, knowing that he's going to be a free agent and they've got plenty of guys to replace him in that bullpen. It's a very AROLDIS CHAPMAN adjacent situation here. What would you put the current odds at that though? Because the Padres are not guaranteed a playoff spot, and neither were the Red Sox, but the Padres are a win now team. This is not a team that's, 27 and beyond, 2027 and beyond. This is a team that needs to win now before, Manny Machado is too old and Fernando Tatis is, I don't know, not Fernando Tatis.
Yeah. I'd probably still around 40% because my thought process, what I wrote about SUAREZ being traded is that it would have to be trading him to get a player now, like to get like a win now piece. So you're moving him because your bullpen's already so deep. You're getting a left fielder or another starter. But that would have to be the deal. I'm sure they would have been willing to give him up for like Duran if they could get Duran. Jaron Duran, that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, not Johan. That would be excessive. But I'm sure they would give up Robert Suarez for Johan Duran too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 40%, and that's only going to be they're not going to get prospects for him unless they're shipping those prospects for another player.
Right.
But
the Padres are crazy like that.
Because I'm sure they're willing to give up their prospects, but they don't have a ton. They've already traded a lot of their prospects away, so Suarez might be one of their better trade assets to fill some other holes. But yeah, I wonder, like, I mean, even like Jason Adam maybe could be available. Adam has not pitched well the last 2 months. I know he's an all-star, but maybe they can capitalize on his all-star status and trade from a strength to get an area of need.
So who do you think would close if Suarez gets traded? Because Adam has no saves and Estrada has 3. Morejon is there as well. I think Adam probably fits better as a setup guy, especially because he hasn't been pitching too well as of late. I would love to see Estrada be there, and he's probably the closer of the future there. I think the Padres view it that way. Do you think they would go straight to Estrada when Suarez gets dealt, or sort of let somebody claim that role?
Yeah, maybe like Estrada and Morejon almost both, and even Adam, they all kind of deserve it. I feel like Estrada makes the most sense with Morejon and Adam working in front of him. Like ultimately, I think that's what they would want to do. But I can really see it going any which way. And if Suarez were to get moved, I think all 3 are worth like tentatively adding just to see how things play out. Because whoever does get the closer role there, it would play off. You get a huge payoff out of it. So. Yeah. Unless they could go just a straight committee. I mean, those 3 all, they could all interchange. They don't need to technically go with one guy. So, but yeah, Estrada and Morejon do have the saves there. And when Suarez was when he was missed time with that suspension, they did go to Morejon. So I don't know. Maybe he does have a bit of a leg up, but.
Yeah,
it's tough.
They do have a lot of lefties, so
they do.
It could work. It could work.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, that'll definitely be worth keeping an eye on, though. We think it's less likely than so that Suarez gets traded. Next, we've got Pete Fairbanks, who is on a 1-year, $4 million contract for 2025 with a club option for $7 million in 2026. Whoever has Fairbanks next year is definitely exercising that. That's a great deal. And then he's set to be a free agent after next year. But I feel like, despite the Rays being in a situation where they should continue to push for the playoffs, I mean, that division is rough and, they're sort of on the fringe. They've set themselves up to be okay if they do trade Fairbanks because they brought in Brian Baker. So if like Baker or Uceta becomes the closer, it's not like they're taking too much of a hit to that bullpen if they do trade Fairbanks. And the Rays are famous for always dealing their closer. Like I could probably name the last 4 guys: Andrew Kittredge, Emilio Pagan, even Jason Adam, and even just there's so many guys there that they've dealt before they've become free agents. And I think they'd be smart to do so with Pete Fairbanks while he's healthy and pitching well, because that's not something he's been able to say throughout his career.
Yeah, there's a lot of things at play here. Like the Rays since July 8th, the Rays have really struggled. I think this is right before they went into Fenway and lost 4 games in a row before the All-Star break. So the Rays right now are a game and a half out of the playoffs. Fairbanks is at, 38 innings pitched. He's never gone more than 45 and a third in his career for a season. So we're creeping up towards that number. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Rays, you got to consider trading him. Even with that club, like, are the Rays going to pick up that $7 million club option next year? The Rays, I don't know if they do.
I would think so.
They might. I don't know. Cheap. It is, but he is like Fairbanks isn't the same guy he once was.
No, which is why I think they would trade him, because another team would be fine, I think, with taking on that $7 million.
Yeah, exactly. That's nothing. They'll like a Padres or any team. Yeah,
right.
I mean, so Yeah, I feel, a team that like makes sense for him is the team where he started. I think like the Rangers,
I
maybe.
was thinking the same thing.
Like, especially because I mean, I also, you got to think about him not being able to pitch in a cold weather environment in October. So, at least in Texas, obviously it's a dome anyway, or they have the roof anyway. But even still, like, it'll see warm weather. That could work out for him, and yeah, he could slide right in as their closer. That makes a ton of sense. I would like to see him in Texas, but yeah, I'm gonna put I think his odds of a trade are definitely going up. Probably now with the Rays struggling, probably closer to 60%. Or I think it's more than likely he gets moved. But
yeah,
there's still some things at play. But yeah, I would like to see Fairbanks finish the year with a contender, and yeah, I think the Rangers like $7 million. They would probably pick that up for next year. Makes sense. Yeah.
I agree. All right. Next, we've got the Twins, which I think if they do trade somebody, it's going to be one of Johan Duran or Griffin Jax, and it's going to be one or the other. They're not going to trade both. Whoever one of those guys gets traded, the other guy is not getting traded. Both of them have multiple years of arbitration eligibility yet. Are they both free agents in 2028?
Yeah. Same with Brock Stewart too. All three of these guys. Yeah.
So they got a lot of guys. We had the likelihood at 35% on July 8th for one of these guys being traded. Would you put that a lot higher now? I know there's still a lot of control left, but we've talked extensively about how good these guys are and the Twins needing to capitalize on that now while they're sort of out of the playoff race too. They'd be able to recover from that next year by, adding to that bullpen. And they've been really good at, sort of finding guys in the trash heap and turning them into solid relievers. Like you mentioned Brock Stewart, but like even Louis Varland as a failed starter, Cole Sands coming out of nowhere, Danny Coulomb was a smart signing. They've been pretty good at turning around relievers, and even Griffin Jax too, a failed starter as well. So I think they'd be okay trading one or the other. But what are you putting the odds at for one of these guys getting dealt?
So we're at 35 in July 8th. I feel like it's gone up a little bit, but I don't know if I don't know if I would say likely. So I'm like 45, 48%. Like, I feel like
48.
it's going to take a lot.
Oh yeah, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot. And all it takes is one team, but it's still hard to match up on a trade for someone like this at the deadline. But yeah, I think this is the time to add Griffin Jax, just in case Duran gets traded, or if Jax gets traded, there's still
he'd be a closer in a lot of places. If he goes
to Texas, he's closing games probably. Yeah. So Philly, he's closing games. So yeah, I think Jax is worth a stash at this point as well, just to see how things play out over the next week. So if those guys say they both move, which is doubtful, I think Brock Stewart's probably the favorite for saves with Varland behind him. I think that just Stewart, because again, he's another free agent in 2028, veteran. They might, push Stewart to be the closer for the rest of the year, and then, look to trade him in the off season or next season, whatever. So I think Stewart would be the guy to roster here if one of them gets moved, or both gets moved, I mean.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some guys who are unlikely to be traded. We'll keep it short. Emilio Pagan, we discussed earlier. The Reds are sort of on the cusp of being out of the playoff race, very similar to the Rays, and I think they'd be smart to trade Pagan because he's set to be a free agent after this year. We had it at 30% on July 8th. Where you put in the likelihood of Pagan getting traded?
No. It's the Reds playoff chase. The Reds playoff odds keep like changing. They're only a game, like right now, as of right now, they're a game out of the playoffs. I don't think they're going to sell. So I'm going to stay at 30%. If this weekend, if the next couple games if they go like 1-4, that could change things. Again, like they're one game out, but it's still like they got to leapfrog the Giants and Padres. Is that realistic? I guess it could happen, but yeah. Again, I think the Terry Francona effect has a huge part to play in this, and like they brought him out of retirement not to sell at the deadline. They want to try to win now. And if the lineup gets hot, then they have the pieces to win now. But yeah, we'll see. I think that the Reds either kind of stand pat or they buy some pieces to help out the team.
Okay, so if Pagan does get traded against your prediction, would you think Ashcraft or Santillan gets to close?
I mean, we would like to see Ashcraft.
We would.
I'm confident I can say we. But knowing Francona's been obsessed with Santillan all year, I feel like he'll go with Santillan as the closer. Although maybe he likes him having the flexibility of using him in different innings depending on situations. So maybe it does go to Ashcraft instead. Kind of the reason why Pagan got the closer role in the first place.
All right, next we've got Felix Bautista. We talked about him a lot already. He's got 2 more years of arbitration after this year, meaning he'll be a free agent after 2027. We had it at 25% likelihood that Bautista gets traded, but now he's on the injured list. The Orioles are already trading other guys. They're set to be in contention for the playoffs next year, or I would think they would be trying to be competitive. Do you think Felix Bautista gets traded?
Yeah, I think the injury puts it down to like 10 to 15% tops. Yeah. Again, if some team's willing to if they're confident in the medicals, they might take a chance, especially given the control here. But I still think the Orioles would be asking for a ton, given that the Orioles can't just like go back into another reset, another rebuild. Like they need to turn things around and try to win next year because they're on the brink right now of like losing this fun young team that they had, like this thing that they've built. It's teetering right now. So I feel like they need to reel it in, contend next year. So I think 10% for Bautista, he should stay, but Dominguez should go, and possibly Kittredge as well.
All right. Next, we've got Emmanuel Clase, who seems to always be a little bit on the trade block. He's still got 2 years of control, or this year and next year, followed by 2027 and 2028 club options at a very reasonable $10 million a piece.
Reasonable for most teams.
Right. Making him, but not the Guardians, I guess. Making Clase a free agent after 2028. We had it at a 25% odds back in early July. Guardians haven't gotten any closer to the playoffs, but they really are in no rush to trade Clase, in my opinion. But do you think, I mean, somebody would have to blow them out of the water?
Yeah, it's, I think your team would have to value him like the 2024 Clase, where like last year he was just absolutely dominant, unhittable. And this year there's been some cracks. He hasn't been the same guy. But if a team, again, that 10 million for Clase is nothing, especially in 27, 28. That's going to look like nothing for him, probably. But for the Guardians, they might, I don't know, maybe they want to get out of this ahead of time, get some pieces now. But I would still say the odds are probably shrinking because the Guardians are playing well right now. They're 2.5 out, but playing well. And again, the Rays are ahead of them, the Rangers and the Red Sox. I mean, I feel like all of those teams are pretty vulnerable, and the Guardians, they made it to the postseason last year, had a little run for themselves. So I feel like the Guardians might make a push and hang on to their bullpen guys. So I'm gonna go with Clase at like 15%.
Okay. Next, we've got Carlos Estevez, who is on a 2-year, $22 million deal. I think it was 3 years originally, but that he does have a club option for $13 million in 2027, making Estevez a free agent in 2028. The odds in early July we had at 20%. I mean, I just don't think they'll trade him because the contract and the Royals want to compete again next year. But where do you expect? What would you put the odds at for Estevez being traded?
I think it might go up a little bit. I'm surprised to see his name thrown around as much. I thought the Royals thought the Royals might just shut that down.
Right.
Especially because, they're doing weird things like adding Adam Frazier and bringing up Rich Hill. It's like, I don't know what they're not making the playoffs this year.
No.
And they should be looking to trade Estevez. I don't know. A team might get desperate if some of these other names don't become available, and they're like, all right, you know what, whatever, we have a potential closer for next year too, and they might give the Royals what they want. asking price wise, but I'm going to say 35 to 40% for ESTEVEZ. It's gone up a little bit, but I ultimately don't think he gets traded. But yeah, they'll have discussions. They should be looking to move him if possible.
All right, that's Carlos ESTEVEZ. Next, Mason Miller. He's got 4 more years of arbitration eligibility after this year, setting him up to be a free agent in 2030. We had the odds at 15% for Miller to be traded. The A's are way out of the playoff race, but they are in no rush to trade Miller. However, as you mentioned earlier, he's somebody that has been up and down in terms of his performance, and really it's just the injury issue. So you never know like when he's going to have to go under the knife again, and if he's going to be able to recover from that. So it's, they sort of want to capitalize while the hype around Mason Miller is still really high.
Yeah, again, this could be one of those situations where if like Duran, if the Twins shut down, talks on Duran and Class A is not available, maybe some teams just throw a lot at the A's for Mason Miller, out of desperation. And the A's, they should not listen to people like to trade offers, because Miller, he's a closer at the end of the day, which is it's awesome. It's like a luxury to have. It's not exactly something you build your team around. So I feel like Miller, you build your team around a bullpen, not just one guy, and the rest of the bullpen's not good. The rest of the rotation's very hit or miss. So if you can get some more pitching assets from Miller at this point, I would definitely do it. I'm still unlikely they move him, like I'd say 20%. But yeah, that would be fun to see him go somewhere else. I mean, I feel like a team like the Tigers aren't going to do it, but like if the Tigers got someone like him, or it's just like some sort of cost-controlled closer, and they have the prospects to do it. They have, they're still, I know they've struggled recently, but they still have the best record in the Blue Jays have the best record in the AL, but the Tigers were up there. But maybe, they've lost their 1-9, one of their last 9. Maybe they go out and get some help to the bullpen, and I think this is the type of guy. This is the type of splash we might see from a team like the Tigers. Yeah,
I mean, or the Phillies could be crazy.
That too. I know. If they give up, if they were willing to give up Andrew Painter, I feel like the A's can't say no to that. Like, yeah. So, but is Dombrowski? He might. I mean, that's a move he'd make in the past. So we'll see.
We will see. The last guy we'll discuss is CAMILO DOVAL, who's got 2 more years of arbitration after making $4.53 million this year, making him a free agent in 2028. DOVAL, we had at 15% likelihood of being traded in July. The Giants are still in the playoff race. So unless they want to sort of get creative with their trade deadline and trade from a strength in that bullpen and sort of try to address some other areas of need, it just would seem weird to do it like that. But I mean, DOVAL has been up and down the past couple of years, so you never really know. You may want to capitalize while he's still good. I would think that this is very low likelihood.
Yeah, I think this was at the time the just post Devers trade, the Giants were struggling. But they've won their last 2 games. They're back to within a game of the playoffs. And again, it's kind of like the Padres, and you have a really good bullpen, and your closer's not one of your top 3 best relievers. So maybe you can move on from him to get something else of need. And then you still have Tyler Rogers, Randy Rodriguez, Ryan Walker, all there. But I've still put it. I mean, I haven't seen his name on there. I just kind of threw it on, at the bottom of the list because it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'd say 10-15% at most for DOVAL being traded.
All right. Well, I feel like we touched literally every possible name that's going to be traded, and how baseball works is like the next trade that happens is going to be some guy we didn't talk about. And I feel like we also mentioned all the notable stash candidates, guys like Griffin Jacks, Jason Adam, Jordan Hicks, Dylan Lee, Cade Smith, and Randy Rodriguez if crazy stuff happens. And then also guys like Reed Detmers, Edwin Uceda, Jose Ferrer, and Graham Ashcraft, and even more Isaac Matson and Kevin Ginkel, guys like that. Riley O'Brien.
Yeah.
But so plenty of actionable stuff here to do as we enter a weekend of fab ahead of the trade deadline. So definitely keep in mind the potential trades that will happen when you are doing your fab this weekend. But that will do it for this episode 130 of In the Pen. Rick, why don't you go ahead and plug your social media and anything else you're working on?
Yeah, you can find me on socials at I am Rick Graham. As always, putting out closing time on Tuesday, hold up on Thursday, and saves plus holds on Friday. And other than that, just waiting for the trade deadline so we can analyze all these moves that are about to happen.
Right, and update those ranks. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. You can follow the pod at In the Pen Pod. You can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. You can catch me on the First Pitch podcast Monday through Thursday, and you can find more of my work at Baseball HQ, where I do playing time analysis for the Giants, A's, and Diamondbacks. But that will do it for this episode. Once again, 130 of In the Pen. We'll talk to you all next week.